Hiya friend, hope you're having a terrific day so far. As always, I'm Dave, from Dave the Spreadsheet Guy, and in this video, we're going to be giving you a quick look at absolute referencing, or that thing they do with the dollar signs. Nice. So, what is absolute referencing? Well, it's a way that we lock down part of a calculation, so that if that calculation gets replicated in other cells, the part that we lock down stays locked down. It doesn't move with the calculation. Now, if you understood that, great. But if not, it's good news. We've got this example here of the best computer game in the world to illustrate what we mean by absolute referencing. Okay, so let's look at the best computer game in the world. You can play it on one of three levels. You can play it on normal, hard, or savage. Now, you get scores for completing certain objectives within the game. Now, the normal score is the base score. Okay, so if you play it on normal, you'll get a 1 multiplier, so you'll just get the base score. If you play the game on hard, though, you'll get the base score multiplied by 1.25, which is the hard multiplier. And then savage mode is a beast. You'll get a multiplier of 1.5 times by the normal score. Okay, so that's what the rules of the game are pretty much. We're going to try and calculate in these cells here what the scores would be for completing these objectives on hard and completing these objectives on savage, whilst also illustrating how to use absolute referencing. Okay, here we go then. So the first formula we're going to look at is this hard score for crafting the magic goggles. Sweet. So we're going to give it an equals. We're going to click on the normal score, which is 1000. We're going to multiply. And we're going to multiply that by the hard multiplier because we're on the hard level. Okay, click on there. And that's our formula complete. So when we hit the enter button, we get the correct answer of 1250. So we don't want to have to type out that formula every time in each of these cells. So we're going to use the fill handle. So the little square at the bottom right hand corner of this cell. If you hover over that, wait till the cursor turns to a plus, hold the left mouse button down and then drag to the bottom. Oh no, something's gone a little bit wrong here. Okay, what's happened? If we go to our original calculation and hit the F2 button on the keyboard, that's edit mode, that will then show you what your calculation's looking at. So we're correctly looking at the normal score for crafting the magic goggles, and we're correctly looking at the hard multiplier. So everything looks good. However, if we look at the next cell down, hit the F2 button, we're looking at the correct score, so we're still looking at the 1500, which is great. However, when we go to look at the hard multiplier, it doesn't look at the hard multiplier anymore. The formula has moved down, and so has the hard multiplier reference. We don't want it to be this cell, we still want it to be this cell. So we need to lock this down somehow. Now that's where absolute referencing comes in. We're clicking our original calculation, and then in the formula bar at the top here, we've got D8. Now D8, coloured in red, relates to this red cell here. That's our multiplier part of our calculation. Now we don't want that bit to move. As the formula moves down, we don't want this reference to move down. So the way we lock that down is by using absolute referencing. So with the cell reference selected, or you see I've got the cursor flashing between the D and the 8, if I press the F4 button on the keyboard, you'll see it now puts a $sign in front of the D of D8, and it also puts a $sign in front of the 8 of D8. So a $sign in front of the column reference, a $sign in front of the row reference. Now what that means is that every time this formula is replicated, i.e. in this cell, this cell, this cell, this reference is locked down. So the column is locked and the row is locked. You can just lock the column and you can just lock the row. And the way you do that is just by cycling through, pressing the F4 button. So if I press F4 again, you can see there's only a $sign in front of the row reference, the 8. So that means that as the formula is replicated, if it gets replicated to the right or to the left, then the column reference will change with the formula. So if I was to move this to savage, then at the moment this D would turn into an E as I copied the formula across to the right, and then an F, and then a G, and then an H, etc. If I press the F4 button again, you'll see it's now put a $sign just in front of the column reference, which means that the column is fixed, but the row is flexible. So if this formula were to be moved or copied to the Savage column, then because the column reference is hard-coded, it's locked, it's absolute referenced, this would also say D8. However, because the row reference isn't locked or absolute referenced, then as I move the formula down, this would be D8, then it would be D9, D10, D11, and so on and so forth. Okay, so wherever you put the $sign relates to what is locked when you replicate that formula. That's pretty much what absolute referencing is. So to finish up the example then, what we're going to do, I'm going to make a happy accident here, as Bob Ross used to say. I know I'm doing something wrong here, but I'm going to lock this down, and you'll see why that's wrong in a little while. So that every time we replicate this formula, it's always going to look at the hard multiplier of 1.25. Okay, so if I now hit the enter button, repeat the exercise with a fill handle from before, you'll see that we get the right answers. Okay, so if I was to click in this third example here, defeat the frost giant, and hit the F2 button, then you'll see it's looking at the correct normal score and it's looking at the hard multiplier. So that's a good test to show that the absolute referencing that we've applied to our formula is working for this hard column. Okay, so we don't want to have to type out the formula again in the Savage column. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our original formula that we've done and we're going to use the fill handle to drag it to the right. Oh no, I'm expecting 1500 to be in there, 1000 times by 1.5 for the Savage multiplier, but I'm getting 1562.5. Now why is that? If I click in the cell and then press the F2 button to go into edit mode, I can see a couple of problems. Problem 1, this cell should be looking at the normal score, but because we didn't lock down this blue reference, this N17, the formula is moved across to the right, and so is the score that we're looking at. Okay, so we're going to have to lock that down to the normal score. And also, we're still looking at the hard multiplier, even though we're in the Savage column. Now the reason for that is that I said I was going to make a happy accident, and I did. I locked down the column reference, so no matter where this formula goes, it will always look at column D. But we want the Savage column to show the Savage multiplier. So that's another change that we need to make. So let's do those in turn. I'm going to take that out. We go back to our original formula. That's the first place where we need to make the changes so that when we copy that formula, it's correct going forward. So I'll go F2 to go into edit mode. And then let's fix this hard multiplier thing first. Yep, we want to lock down the row because we don't want it moving down, but we don't want to lock the column. So when this formula moves from hard to Savage, we want the multiplier to move from hard to Savage. So if I click in here and delete this first $sign, now means the row is locked but the column isn't, and hit the enter button. Use the fill handle to fill my formula down. Once I made a change to this formula, I want to make sure that it's filled down to these formulas as well, just to keep consistency. And then we use the fill handle to drag the formula across to the right. Okay, we've got 1875. So even though the Savage multiplier is correct, we've still got this issue here where it's looking at the hard score and not the normal score. Okay, so go back to our original calculation. Now we want to stop the score reference moving from normal to hard. So the way we do that, we click in our cell, we hit the F2 button, and this blue reference here relates to this blue reference at the top here. Now we want to lock the column but not the row. So we click on the M17, doesn't matter where as long as it's on or around the M17. Hit the F4 button. Now that's two $signs, one on the column, one on the row. That'll lock everything down. We don't want that because we don't want the row to be locked. So we press F4 again. That's just the row being locked. Press F4 once more, and you'll now see we've got a $sign in front of the M, the column reference. So that'll lock this column in place. So each formula that we do is going to look at this column and not any other columns. Brilliant. I think that's pretty much done it. So we've got the absolute referencing in place to lock down what we want. if I hit the enter button, use the fill handle, fill our formula down, and then fill our formula across. Let's give it a little test with saving the princess. Click in this cell here and hit the F2 button. I'm expecting it to look at the score, which it is, of normal, and it's looking at the hard multiplier. And if we do the same for Savage on Save the Princess, hit the F2 button, it's looking at the normal score now, which is what we want, and it's looking at the Savage multiplier. So by using absolute referencing, we've managed to get the calculations that we want, whilst locking down certain cell references to make sure that happens. Fantastic stuff. I know that was a bit whirlwind, but that's pretty much absolute referencing basics in a nutshell. If you've got any comments or any questions, feel free to chuck them in the comments section of this video, or come and join us on Facebook. Come and see our page, Dave the Spreadsheet Guy. You can like it, you can share stuff on it, you can post comments. Or we've got Discord, where you can come and join our chat community. Or we've got Twitch, where you can come and watch us stream and ask us questions interactively. Cool. Alright, I'm going to wrap this one up now, guys. Hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.